Did they make
contact? No, it's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves out to win it. Carl Edwards bumping, dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Maine really turn around, made a Riley's cage up.
Welcome to the Bumper Run Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Z. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a James Dennis Allen Hamlin type of weekend. He was the big winner down in Richmond, Virginia. And if you're liking the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Podcast available every Monday night. Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And every Tuesday morning available on YouTube. Shout out to all the friends of the show. It's been a while since I shout out the friends of the show. We appreciate you listening every week. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give us that thumbs up and tell all your friends. Spread the word. We're gaining traction here on the Bumper Run Podcast, but we always like to see some more growth. So if you have a buddy you watch NASCAR with, tell him, and then tell him to tell his NASCAR buddies. Let's get it growing like a family tree. It's the Bumper Run Podcast family tree. And speaking of family trees, I don't know how you guys doing. You're my family tree right now. What's going on, brothers?
What's up, bro?
We are NASCAR family. We are NASCAR family. I'll give that to you 100% there, Whitey.
Hell yeah, I'm all fired up. I'm feeling great after that Richmond race because usually I don't feel great after Richmond races. So I thought that was a real good one. We'll jump into it, but how was your guys' weekend? I know Daytona Ron was laid up on the couch with some stomach issues, but how about you, Matt?
Quiet weekend. Next weekend's a travel weekend for a family wedding on Steph's side. So we played it kind of quiet this weekend, getting ready for next weekend.
Yeah, just chilling at home, enjoying the good life on a weekend. I was doing the same. Not a whole lot going on this weekend. And Eric, you're pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, not much going on. The last 2 weekends, I've either gone somewhere or had someone over to my house to watch the race. So this weekend I wasn't feeling too well and, watched the race, at home, just relaxing on the couch. And it was nice to fully absorb the race. And it was one that if you weren't paying attention and fully absorbed, you would have had absolutely no idea what was going on. So it was a good race to be home and watch it with full concentration.
Yesterday's race is the exact type of race that if you watched it at like a bar or something, or like you said, at like a party or whatnot, like you would not. Your grade would probably be like a D or enough. Like you had to pay attention. You needed the broadcast to help kind of carry you along throughout those strategies yesterday.
Yeah. If we'll get into it too, but if you were watching at a bar or something with no sound, and then all of a sudden you just see Byron start to fade, and Denny Hamlin come in and pass him with 5 to go and win the race, you're like, where the hell did this come from? Yep. But I thought it was a great one. But first, you guys want to jump into some NASCAR news?
Sure.
Real quiet news week. Just an update to the Brad Keselowski RFK penalty from last week, which was a huge thing. If you missed that one, RFK got busted for modifying some supply-based parts, and they got a 100-point deduction, 100 team and driver point deduction, $100,000 fine for the crew chief, 4-race suspension for him, and 10 playoff points. They are going to be appealing it. They're going to meet this Thursday, so we'll see what happens from here. We should have a definite answer by the weekend, what's going to happen. Usually, sometimes NASCAR appeals, you do win. Modifying a body part, I don't know. I don't see a likely good outcome. How about you guys? What are you guys thinking about that one?
Not a prayer. Yeah, not a prayer. Especially with this new car. I heard someone explain it. I forget which personality on the pre-race show or something. They explained it like, if like Pete Rose in baseball, if you're into any other sports, he's banned from baseball pretty much. Like he is barred from baseball, the Hall of Fame, all of that. He did something wrong and detrimental to the game. So basically Pete Rose will never make it in because that is the precedent. That is the line that Major League Baseball set.
Yeah.
And if they let him in, then guess what? Now there's leniency for everybody else. And okay, so nope. As much as maybe Pete Rose deserves to be in there, he'll never, because that's a precedent that they set. And NASCAR's doing the same thing with this. They are going to stick with it, and they're going to lay the law down so that anybody from this point forward doesn't even think about it, because it would be detrimental to the sport if they did, I feel.
No, they're definitely setting a precedent with whatever happens from here. And I feel like that's why they dropped the hammer so hard, to really send a message to the garage.
Yeah, if you're RFK, you have to appeal it. And Eric said it perfectly. They're not gonna take anything away from this penalty. They're not gonna reduce any points or anything like that. I think the penalty is the penalty. I also think that it's not gonna deter teams away from doing it. I think that at some point this season, we're going to see another penalty get dropped just like this one. I don't think we're done seeing giant penalties.
I agree. I think sometime around the summertime, someone's going to try to pull something and try to sneak one by. We'll see what happens, though. Who knows? There might have been
desperation. Yep. Someone's going to get desperate. You know, they're going to need a fight. They're going to need to figure something out. And hopefully one of my bold predictions, that someone gets that huge L1 there and gets,
You're leaning on that. You're hoping that happens.
Oh yeah. I need it now because Brad. Well, after this week, I might be, taking my words back after this week.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, Brad Keselowski's looking at an L2 penalty. There is a step further, the L3 penalty, which includes no playoff eligibility.
Yeah.
So that's what Eric's looking for. He wants to see someone really get taken to the woodshed. Is that it? That's a
behind the woodshed.
Out behind the woodshed.
He wants. Why are they going behind a woodshed? I never got that.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that saying.
Nothing good happens behind the woodshed. I'm just telling you that right now.
No, definitely
if
not.
anyone says let's go behind the woodshed,
no.
All right, two more pieces of news. COTA is taking ticket renewals for 2023. Even though there's no official word that NASCAR will return, they're feeling pretty confident that they will. And I agree. After the show we saw last weekend, I would assume we're going back to COTA in 2023. How about you guys? You think we're safe to assume that?
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't see how we don't. After the rain incident, that was their second chance. Let's see what they do. Hopefully better weather. Well, we saw what they were able to do with that better weather. Now I think it's a no-brainer.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I hope we go there for many years to come because it's a really fun racetrack. And the last piece of news, Matt, you'll find this interesting. Kelly Earnhardt Miller said the window is still not closed for a potential jump to the Cup Series. She said they're waiting on the right timing to make sure it feels right. They're not going to make the jump unless it doesn't feel right. So what do you guys think about a possible Junior Motorsports Cup team?
I was having this conversation this weekend with I think it was my dad. Someone might have been with you guys. I think it was with my dad. Anyway, I was having this conversation this weekend.
I think it was with your dad.
If they do make the jump, which where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be for next year or the year after, but I definitely see them they're talking about it. They keep talking about it. They've been talking about it for a year.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see this jump happening eventually. And if that's the case, I don't know what I'm going to do because obviously, my allegiance is to Junior. He's my guy that I grew up watching. I love him. I root for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity series, but I'm also a Hendrick Motorsports guy in the Cup series. I'm a Chase Elliott fan. So what happens? I'm kind of selfishly hoping that they kind of don't come up to the Cup series.
So you don't have to make that choice.
Yeah.
So in the off season, we talked about it. How do you pick your driver? If you didn't listen in the off season, you missed some great shows. Definitely go back and check them out. We talked about finding the right driver for you, and sometimes it takes a while. And I know you're really big on Josh Berry, as well as Dale Jr. is real big on Josh Berry. So I assume if they ever make that jump to Cup, Josh Berry is the number one car in the stable, right?
You would think so.
So then you come to a crossroads. What do? Do you abandon Chase Elliott and jump to Josh Berry? Do you root for both of them, kind of like you do with Martin Truex Jr. and Chase now, or Or what? Like where?
Do I rename my dog Josh?
I don't think you can rename a dog. I think it already knows its name at this point. So
no.
But if you were
in that scenario, yeah, I think I'm rooting for both guys. I mean, I'm not going to just leave. I love Chase Elliott. I'm not just going to abandon ship. But on the other hand, like I said, like if Junior Motorsports did come into the Cup Series, I'd have no choice but to root for those guys as well. So we'll see.
I think this is a sport where you can root for multiple people. It isn't uncommon for people to follow and watch and root for many drivers for different reasons. Like you said, Whitey, if you go back and listen to how we picked our drivers and sort of the things that go into that, you could like a driver for the way he drives on the racetrack. I like him. He's gonna be my guy.
Yeah.
But I also like this guy. He does a lot of good. His charity. I like what he does here. I'm into that. It fits my, my personality or my, hobbies I like. And I like him for that. Like I like multiple drivers too, as y'all know, if you listen.
Yeah.
I'm a big Slick Willie B fan and a Blaney fan. So if my guy's out, there's always someone else to root for, which is good for races that maybe your driver gets taken out early. But I would just say root them. You definitely have to root for both of them. I mean,
right.
Unless they try to poach Chase from Hendrick and
that's the perfect
That's
scenario.
the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
But nobody roots for two different guys. That's crazy.
If you're listening at home, you're not watching on YouTube. Matt lifted his Chase Elliott hoodie to reveal a Martin Truex T-shirt underneath. So yeah, I mean, I feel like you're right. You could root for multiple guys. And Eric, this might surprise you. This might shock you. But this weekend, yesterday, with my whole entire heart, I was cheering on Christopher Bell to win that race.
Oh no.
Because not only did I pick him in the picks last week, and I wanted to get that win, I put money on him, and I was holding out till the end because he looked like he had a great car all day long too. I thought maybe he could squeak someone out, so I was screaming like, "Let's go, Bell! Let's go! Let's go!" Because Reddick wasn't doing that great yesterday. Anyways, I felt like the biggest traitor, but I had to. The money was on the line.
I will agree. There is sometimes when I do cheer on somebody that is not my main driver, I'm like,
you feel like you're cheating.
Should I be doing this right now? Is this it's usually for fantasy, or like you said,
Yeah.
why do you have some kind of money on it? So it kind of, it evens itself all out. But glad to hear, you got over that Xfinity battle that we had.
Yeah.
You root for Christopher Bell.
Well, the almighty dollar makes you do crazy things.
Sure does.
And like you said, rooting for other drivers too, like especially rooting for people you don't like with fantasy. I know that's why our buddy Jay stopped doing fantasy this year. Not only did he win last year, so he went out on top. He's like, yeah, I got sick of rooting for Logano and stuff because he was in my lineup, which I completely understand. But that's all I have for NASCAR news. So you guys, I have NASCAR history. It's been a while, but I got one. Our buddy and your cousin Shrey's been asking for one, so I found one I think he'll really enjoy.
Backed by popular demand.
Backed by popular demand. This one's for Robbie Shrey, friend of the show. Well, it wasn't this week in NASCAR history, but it was this track back in 1999. A rookie making the switch from open wheel to stock cars would get his first Cup career win in just his 25th start, and what would become a Hall of Fame career, including 3 Cup Series championships as a driver and 2 championships as a team owner. Have you guessed who it is yet?
I know.
All right, well, I'm not gonna let you spoil it for the class. Put your hand down, Matt. On that night in 1999, he started on the front row. Tony Stewart qualified second, and at this point, the IndyCar champion had been knocking on the door of his first Cup career win, and the fans were just waiting for him to kick that door down. Smoke had the dominant car that night in Richmond, Virginia, leading 333 of 400 laps. The only cars to even compete with him that night were his teammates Bobby Labonte and Jeff Gordon. Thankfully, Gordon's day would end early, though, due to mechanical issues, and Bobby Labonte could not catch him near the end, and Smoke would go on to get his first career Cup Series win. He would finish his rookie season 21 top 10s, 12 top 5s, and 3 wins in the last 10 weeks of the season. And if you want to go back and watch that race, it's on the NASCAR YouTube channel. I watched the whole thing. It was a really fun race. It sounds like it would be a snooze fest because he led 333 laps, but it was really entertaining. And I forgot how massive the crowds at Richmond were. The grandstands pretty much went around the entire track back then. Kind of a crazy comparison to what you look at these days. But what do you guys think about the old Richmond and those Cup cars? I was surprised, and it's something we saw a lot in the late 90s and early 2000s, rookies winning multiple races. I feel like that's unheard of these days.
Yeah, Junior did it. Stewart did it. Kenseth did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Kurt Busch did it. Harvick did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was commonplace back then.
I wonder.
Also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Is it possibly because a lot of these rookies that are coming into Cup now are 21, 22, 23 years old, where back then they were 25, 26, 27 by the time they were getting into Cup?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to go, I wonder if age has a factor in it, because rookies back then, you could be a rookie at 33 years old and still have a nice long career for 10 years after that, you know? So I wonder, maybe just the way the whole feeder system's really set up these days, it's kind of doing these younger guys a disadvantage. What do you think about that?
Agreed, but if you think about it nowadays, you know, you get into Cup 22, 23 years old, look at some of these guys racing to 44, 45 years old, you're going to have a 20-year career. So even if on the front end where it takes you 3 or 4 years to really get those wheels moving, you got, 17, 18 years left over to make a Hall of Fame career out of it.
I mean, just like the NFL, though, it stands for not for long. And, these young kids that are getting these opportunities in Cup, you're seeing some of them, not stay very long and go back down to trucks or Xfinity. Because guess what? The next best crop of young up-and-coming dirt, modified drivers, they're on your heels and they're coming for you, and they're going to take that spot if you don't take advantage of these early opportunities in your racing career. I think it's good that they're given an opportunity earlier in their racing careers to have that opportunity that maybe some of the likes of Harvick, Kenseth, and them, they didn't have back then.
Yeah.
But I think you still, no matter what age or experience, you just have to seize the moment. And if you could seize that moment, even if it's for a little bit, it's still not good enough sometimes. So it's a tough sport to be in, whether you come in early or come in late. Like look at Josh Berry, he's coming in a little bit later, and he could be a rookie when he's in his 30s if he comes up to Cup. So I don't think there's any advantage or disadvantage to that. You just still have to produce when you get that opportunity behind the wheel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there's a lot more turnaround these days with the young guys than there was like back in the day. I mean, I think it just has to do with team sponsorship too. The teams would have the sponsor for the year, so you kind of have that freedom to grow a little bit too early on and like kind of grow into it. Now it's like, if you're not performing, you're done. Like look at the 38 car. We had John Hunter Nemechek. He went back down to trucks. He got replaced by Anthony Alfredo. He went back down to Xfinity. You look at Ty Dillon, like he went back to Xfinity. Daniel Hemrick, like all these guys where, they had a short time in Cup and then boom, right back down and hope you figure it out and you make your way back up too. And some might say that's the way it should be now, where you can go back down and kind of develop if you get pushed too early. And we were just talking about it before the show. You look at a guy like Cole Custer, like he's struggled more than the rookies he came up with. So do you see him go back down to Xfinity and dominate for a while and gain that confidence back?
He has a win already down there this year in Xfinity. So, yeah. I mean, look at, he runs well in that he was running the 07 car. Yeah. Is that a Spire car 07? I don't know. Xfinity.
No, that's the SS Greenlight car. I forget the story. It's a pretty interesting story if you go and look into the owner and stuff, but they've been at it for a while. But that was the first career win for them down there. So like Cole Custer drove the wheels off that car at what was it, Fontana, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of young guys though, you want to jump into the race weekend?
Let's do it.
Speaking of young guys, I meant Ty Gibbs, Xfinity Series winner yet again, pushing who we just mentioned, John Hunter Nemechek, right out of the way to win Saturday night. I know Matt's going to expand on it a little later on. So let's jump right into Cup then. Trucks are not on track this weekend. Denny Hamlin, Denny, led one time for 5 laps, scored his first win of the season, and ended the streak of 30-year-old and under winners at, what was it, 12? 12 was the number?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So old dog Dennis.
It wasn't even the 30-year-olds. It took a 40-something-year-old to win it.
Is he 40 now? Is he 40?
Yeah.
He's like 41. Yeah.
41, yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes those short tracks, it's all about the veteran skills, and we saw a whole lot of interesting stuff. We'll talk about 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 43 seconds for Eric Jones, 43 right there. 13 lead changes among 7 drivers, 5 cautions for 35 laps. Top 5, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, the 2 veterans up front. William Byron, a nice young gun, and Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Larson, kind of in between with Truex, and then Larson, another young guy. So an interesting top 5, a mixed bag. We saw a whole lot of different strategy made for what I thought was a pretty interesting race. Do you guys want to jump into the race grades?
Yep, let's do it.
Start with Matt. What'd you grade the race?
I gave it a B-. So if a C is like the bar for like average, like that, like if a C is like dead set average race, then I think the race was just a little bit slightly better than average.
Yeah.
So the first stage was below average. I would have given the first stage, like I think I told you guys, like this is developing into like a C- race right now. And then the second stage started setting up for what would become a really entertaining third stage, right?
Yeah.
We saw Christopher Bell have a kind of an offshoot strategy, which kind of started the domino effect of what's
everyone else going to do now.
So it wasn't a fuel strategy race either. It was a tires strategy.
Yeah.
And it was really, really interesting. In racing, it's not always about the on-track entertainment. Sometimes it could be the strategy that makes the race interesting. And yesterday was the case. I never saw a strategy race breaking out at Richmond before. Like I never even thought about that being a possibility. And here we are. So it turned out being a pretty okay day at the end of the day. You know, it wasn't a great race. It wasn't an awful race. It was just an okay race. So I gave it a B-. I thought it was really, really interesting watching Denny hunt down Martin Truex Jr. and then eventually William Byron for the lead and the win.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't think has been talked about enough is the fact that Denny came from like an entire lap to catch William Byron. Like once it cycled through, like Denny was like in front of William Byron, and the new tires got him all the way back around. Get back around and pass him for the win. So new tires were king yesterday, and it saved the race. And I gave it a B-.
Can I tell you something I noticed watching that old race for the NASCAR history? It was an ESPN broadcast, and every now and then because they were watching the battle of Bobby Labonte try to catch Tony Stewart, and they would show the 5-lap intervals and show the difference in each time, and you kind of saw like the little bits and pieces. I wish Fox would do something like that, bring it back, especially.
I'll get it. I'll lay into Fox in a little bit.
Okay, especially for a race like yesterday, because I would have liked to see how much time Denny was making up on every single lap to catch William Byron.
They would talk about it, but unless you're writing it down, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Unless you're visualizing it, it's just numbers that they're throwing at you. Like
right.
They could be speaking another language for all you know,
right.
So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. And I didn't realize Denny came from that far behind. How about you, Eric? What was your race grade?
Just like Matt, pretty much I agree with everything that he just stated there. I'm giving it a B- as well. That first stage when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, Blaney's kind of dominant here. He's running away with this one, and he led that whole first stage kind of single file. And Eric Jones dropped like a rock. Qualified practice, excellent. I was expecting a good battle from him, and he just fell just tremendous in that first stage. So I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. What are we gonna get here at a Richmond? But like Matt said, once Christopher Bell, kind of popped off the whole strategy thing and caused teams to, come up with a strategy of their own, I kind of turned my mindset around from looking for battles on the racetrack between two cars, going back and forth or trying to pass one another to let's see what pit road does. And that's where the battle was going to be won. Not only the pit crews, but the driver himself. He has to get on pit road and off pit road. And on Sunday, the first 6 races, we had 5 green flag stops only. Yesterday, I think we had 5 green flag stops, 4 or 5. So we had just as many green flag stops in one race as we did all of the other ones to start the season. So once I turned my mindset to that, this is the type of race it's going to be. This is what I have to follow and pay attention to.
Yeah.
Man, did it totally change for me from stage 1. And I actually got really, really intrigued by those strategies. And, because once you know what that is, like you guys are saying, if the broadcast, carries you along the race and explains it, those races could be very, very fun to watch. And, and that's exactly what we got yesterday. It was a fun strategic race at the end that also involved having to, hold off a driver. Also, you had a driver trying to run down that other driver. So it had a little bit of everything in that third stage. But if you didn't know about it in second stage and you see them starting to develop that, you would kind of been you would have been lost. And I just think that was the only thing yesterday that I thought was a kind of a sore eye, where the broadcast, I felt like they could have. I felt like they
dropped the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of do it as well in a way, but not everyone is in tune with that type of race and knows what they're doing. I feel like that broadcast expected everyone that was watching to know exactly what was going on. And even as giant fans like us, we still had kind of a hard time following along. So other than that, I just thought, once I got my mindset into a strategy race like that, it ended up being a really exciting finish there.
That's one thing I wanted to say, and Eric, you just nailed it. Is once I just changed my mindset to, the action might not be the best on the track, but this is becoming a strategy race. It's just a different way of thinking. It's a different way of taking in the race. And then once you do that, you can embrace it and you can actually enjoy the race. And I forgot to say that, but that was a good point.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I gave it a little bit higher though. I went with a solid B. Early on, like you guys said, I thought Blaney was going to run away with it. And I was like, man, this is just another C- Richmond race like we saw last year 2 times, where big fall of the leader, no one ever catches up, lap traffic doesn't really matter, single groove racing, kind of boring. And then the second stage happened. We saw some different pit strategy from Christopher Bell. That piqued my interest, especially since I told you guys I had money on the line. So I was getting pumped up about that. I'm like, Christopher Bell's my pick. I feel like this might be a good day for him. And then I was interested to see okay, now that he showed you could do something in the second stage, just, one pit stop instead of the 2 that everyone else is doing. Now, what do the guys do for the third stage? Because now automatically everyone on pit road starts thinking, and then that created some more fun. And did you think we were going to see a full stage go green? Like the second stage? I feel like
thought that in a million years.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like we haven't seen that in, I don't even know how long. So once, like you guys said, you start realizing, this is what's building. And you're trying to figure out okay, well now who's good? Now you're watching people and the lap count that they took their tires on and everything. I know near the end I had a whole lot of fun because my girlfriend likes Kevin Harvick, so I'm watching. I'm like, oh, Kevin and Denny are on the same pit strategy. Martin Truex Jr. pitted, I think, like a lap or two before. Like, oh, can they build? And then you start watching William Byron kind of fall. So that was like really exciting. But I think, like you said, just Fox kind of dropped the ball with building up that storyline. They did a little bit towards the end, but from what I heard from other people who listened to the MRN broadcast and who was there in person listening to the MRN broadcast, they had Todd Gordon in the booth, who used to be Ryan Blaney's crew chief and Joey Logano's crew chief, and he was breaking it down lap by lap and telling you, who's making the moves and the tire fall off and all that stuff. So apparently he did a great job. And then I'm thinking about it today, thinking about what I heard about the MRN broadcast. Now I'm like, well, we had Chad Knaus, one of the greatest crew chiefs of all time, in the booth, and he barely talked about it until William Byron started to fall back. So just a little disappointing in that. I know, Matt, you'll expand on that, but you guys know me. I love a good fuel strategy race. Like, that's my kind of racing. I don't want to see it every week, of course, but I really enjoyed it. And I feel like you guys said, with the casual fan, you couldn't walk away from this race and come back and have like an idea what was going on. It was a very, like, I feel like inside baseball type of race,
This race was a perfect example of, I guarantee you, people that were live at Richmond thought they saw an excellent race unfold in front of them.
Yeah.
And people that watched it on TV suffered from it. So
Yeah.
if you are even thinking or questioning about maybe should I go to this race or not, go, because it's always going to be better there.
Absolutely.
I would have loved to have been at Richmond there, because I would have been able to follow Denny with my own eyes with a stopwatch.
Just
and then,
see
you know
him,
what I mean?
you know?
And then keep clicking him. Okay, now click, Willie B. And like, that was a race where if you were there, it would have been so much better of an experience, because you could see the whole thing going down all at once. So if you're thinking about not getting that ticket, go get the ticket.
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky at Dover and see a little bit of a strategy race unfold in front of us.
I don't know, man. That Miles the Monster grabs those cars pretty quick. I don't know if we'll see a
big
flags run like
caution.
that. Yeah. I would love it, though. I would love to see something like that happen at Dover. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Do you guys think we're inherently fans of strategy races because of what's in our backyard?
I think Pocono has a big deal with it. And I was actually going to bring it up when Eric was just talking about going and seeing it live. I think that's what people watching Pocono at home kind of suffer from, that we get to see in person when we go every year, is we get to follow the different pit strategies and whatnot. Right. So,
well, the thing is at Pocono, like I always remember, I'm standing on top of my truck and I'm watching Larson, and I'm like, okay, here he comes. He's coming, backstretch to the tunnel turn. Ooh, he's gaining on him. All right, next lap. Ooh, okay, now he's on his bumper on the backstretch. He's going to get him the next lap. And then here they come the next lap. Larson gets him. So there's things you could see when you're at the track and watch and focus on, rather, than the TV might not be showing that. They're probably showing the leaders. When you're watching someone that's in 5th or 6th try to make their way through, and you're not going to see that on TV. So you guys are right. Like, being there at a race like Pocono, where you get into those long runs where the fuel strategy and tires come into play, it's definitely better to be there. That's why, we always say it, and we go to numerous every year. Buy a ticket. Get out to a race. Support these racetracks and go out there and watch this sport that is absolutely tremendous with this new car. Go see it live.
Yeah, support the sponsors that are on the cars as well. Even if you try some of those sponsors and they're absolutely horrible tasting, you at least have to support them and buy them because the love of the sport.
Yeah, what was that energy drink that was on Chase's car this weekend?
A-Shock.
Not good, huh? You got one over the weekend. It wasn't that good? Yeah.
He pleads the fifth.
Well, you can always, if you need a little energy boost, you can always sponsor support Kyle Busch with Rowdy Energy, or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with NOS Energy Drink.
I've been looking for Rowdy Energies. I can't find them anywhere. They're not in our gas stations up around here. I think you can get them at some of the grocery stores.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm gonna have to do that. But like, I'll usually get an energy drink in the morning instead of coffee. And I'm usually a Red Bull guy, but I saw we were shopping and the night before, Friday night, we were shopping and I saw A Shock in our grocery store. So I was like, oh, I'll put this in the fridge. I'll have it for breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
We had some running around to do, so I drank it. And
what was the flavor on that bad boy?
Orange something.
Orange something. It probably tasted. You remember when you were a kid and you had to get like the little fluoride treatments? You do that at the dentist as a kid?
That's a good shout. Yeah, it wasn't. I was hoping that it would be a better product, being that it was on my boy's car this weekend. But not for me.
Well, maybe you just got to find the flavor for you, man. Don't count them out. Try them all. And like you said, support those sponsors. But yeah, my race grade, solid B. Just loved it. It was definitely a crew chief race, a type of race. For the casual fan, it might have been boring. For the diehard, I think it was a great one. You guys want to jump into checkers and wreckers?
Do it.
All right, Eric, let's start with you with the checkers and wreckers since we start with Matt with the race grades.
My checkers just goes to Joe Gibbs this week. I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks that they really need to step it up and they need to turn it around. And, they just had themselves a day. I mean, Seabell started it off with his strategy. MTJ coming through, Denny Hamlin at the end there, Kyle Busch, even finishing ninth after that black flag, which that was a strange one. I'll have to admit that. I thought that was a weird call by NASCAR. And just Gibbs in general, they unveiled a new pit strategy too, choreography amongst their pit crew.
That was real interesting.
And lo and behold, they said, here, this is what we're gonna do this week. This is brand new. Kyle Busch ended up getting the fastest four-tire stop in NASCAR history on Sunday.
What was it? Like
9.19 seconds, a four-tire stop, 9.19 seconds. So that was incredible. So Gibbs obviously has been feeling the pressure. Gibbs obviously knew that they had to step it up and get something done and turn it around quick. And that's exactly what they did at Richmond. Went to their bread and butter and they got it done. So I have to just give a shout out there, my checkers, to Joe Gibbs.
All right. And what was your records for the weekend?
My records goes to just some of these fans that have no idea what they want. They scream old. I want old racing. Give me old school racing back. I want to see this. I want to see that. But then when they get it, they bitch about it. Oh, he shouldn't have moved him. He doored him. He did this. But at the same time, you're calling for the Earnhardt days when he used to smash into everybody and win races and everyone cheered and it's make up your mind on what you want and either that or just shut up. I'm just sick of hearing it. There's some moves now that these media and these people are blowing out of proportion that 10 years ago, those moves wouldn't have even made it a segment. They wouldn't have even questioned if that was dirty or not, or should this guy retaliate, or what do you do there? They're making these stories themselves because they have nothing else. They're trying to make the drama, and you could feel it. You could feel that they're trying to make it into something that it isn't. And that sucks for the driver. Right, that sucks for the driver. You're going out there, you're racing hard for that win. Yeah, you might put a bumper to somebody, you might get into someone's door, but you're out there going to win. You don't want to, as soon as you get out the car, be put into a fight that you don't want.
Yeah.
But the media wants you in it. And it's come on, enough with this. If it's genuine, I love, don't get me wrong, a genuine rivalry between two people for something that was a serious thing that they have to hash it out and get it done and get it over with on track or off track. But when you try to create it, you could feel it. You could sense it that you're trying to make something that isn't there. So I don't know whether it's the media, the fans, or whatever, take the race for what it is and just move on. You know what I mean? I don't know. This whole, should he have moved them? Should he not have moved them with Chastain, with Ty Gibbs, that whole thing? It's they weren't that bad to even for me be questioning it or not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think some of these people don't know what they want in their heads.
No, I agree. I feel like Fox is really trying to manufacture drama this season. Even like you look back at the Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson thing, and then they did that corny video package the next week. There's a lot of corny stuff going on with Fox right now. Matt, what's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Yeah, so my checkers kind of goes it flows right off of Eric's wreckers. Is my checkers goes to the last 30 laps or so of that Xfinity race. That race went from blah to great in the last 30 laps. I know Eric was home watching it. I was watching it. It was a shootout between teammates Joe Gibbs and John Hunter Nemechek, and that's kind of I believe, not to put words in Eric's mouth, but I think that's kind of what he was referring to with, we saw some fans complaining because what had happened was those two, their teammates, and for the last 30 laps or so, they were swapping the lead for the win. About a half a dozen times those guys were swapping the lead. And then it comes down to the last lap. Ty Gibbs puts what I think is a clean bump and run. We have to give love to the bump and run. We are the Bump and Run podcast. He puts a clean bump and run on John Hunter. Doesn't wreck him, doesn't spin him out, just got him just the slightest bit of loose so he can get around him. It's the last lap. It's for a win. I don't care if it's for your first win, your 8th win, your 30th win. I don't care what it's for. It's for a win. And also,
he's racing for points too.
Absolutely.
John Hunter Nemechek isn't racing
for points.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, John Hunter Nemechek isn't, but yeah.
So you want to get those playoff points. You move John Hunter out of the way. He doesn't need a win.
Another thing too is like the term teammate goes right out the window in those situations too. Let the best man win. I don't care if the same guy pays for both of your paychecks. I don't care. Let the best man win. If you have to put a bumper on him, go do it. Like a win is a win. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed those last 30 laps of that Xfinity race. So I had to give that my checkers.
Oh, 100%, Matt. That was, I know you and I were texting back and forth watching it, and it did go from a dud to holy shit, this is fire. Yeah. I agree though. They swap back and forth about 6, or so times. And I thought, John Hunter, he was kind of aggressive just as much as Ty Gibbs was. He doored Ty Gibbs a couple times and got into his bumper a couple times. So to me, I thought it was even. And at the end, that last corner, I know John Hunter says that Ty just basically didn't even try to make the corner. He just used him as the corner essentially and drove in way too deep. But to your point, Matt, I think that's all fine. If the other guy doesn't wreck and comes in second, then it's clean. That's fine. The way I see it. It's clean as long as that guy doesn't smash out and come in fucking 10th or 20th or dead last because you smashed him and wrecked him. Yeah. Like that to me indicates it was clean. It was hard racing at the end for a win. So. I agree with you, man. That was phenomenal, and I thought, that battle was great, and the battle gets overlooked by what I said in my records. So I want to be talking about the actual battle on the racetrack rather than the conversation of should he have done it or not. Let's focus on the battle and see how awesome it was for those cars and those drivers to bump and bang and not spin out and not wreck. That's what I want to talk about. That's the type of fan I am. I want to talk about the racing. Yeah. That was the amazing part, but the media and everyone else wants to talk about, should he have done it? His words after the race. Fuck that. This is NASCAR. Well, we talk about the driving and the cars on the track. What do you care? Like, who gives a shit about that other stuff?
So the other thing that gets me too is look at where the sport started. Like, if you really want to talk about, like, those guys were on short dirt tracks, bumping and beating and banging and leaning on each other and moving each other out of the way for wins. And and it was okay.
But there was a respect, Matt. Right. That's the thing. Right. There was a certain respect. And I see a lot of people talking about that. And I think I even, misinterpreted every once in a while when the likes of Harvick and Denny talk about it. The respect. I think we don't fully understand that, not being in a race car and not growing up and being fully immersed in it. There is this weird little respect element that we don't understand that is just known by these drivers. And you're right, it starts down at the low dirt series. Some of these people that own these tracks, they will throw you out or put you to the back if you intentionally wreck somebody. These dirt racers, they don't go out there looking to wreck the leader for a win, because if you do that, they're going to know that, they're going to put you to the back, and you're getting reprimanded for it. So, like, it's all about hard racing, not intentionally just smashing somebody.
Right.
And what I thought I saw between Ty and John Hunter was that hard racing. No one just smashed in and took somebody out and completely wrecked them. But, yeah, I just think that respect is maybe lacking just a little bit amongst these new drivers today.
Sure it is.
All right, Matt, how about your records for the weekend?
So my records is going to the Fox production team. I hate to be that guy. I gave it some time, just like the lugs that I wrecked last week. I gave it time. I was open-minded about it. But yesterday there were a handful of events that unfolded that one of the guys in the booth would catch, and they would talk about or call it out, and it would legitimately take the Fox production team 10 seconds for them to find what camera picked up the action that was being talked about, and then to switch over to it. I am not by any means an expert. I'm not a professional. I did, however, I do have a communications degree. I did take classes. I did do a lot of hands-on stuff in college where there's production involved. And it just seems like to me that, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like to me that the production people that are running the Fox races this year are like brand new. Like, it seems like they've never ran a race before.
Yeah.
They've never produced a race before for a TV partnership. So it's just sad. And it's been happening all year where Mike Joy or Clint Boyer will call something and it'll take the production a little while to catch up. Like Whitey mentioned earlier, the stats, the graphics aren't really the best. They aren't lacking. They're not showing us what we would prefer to see.
Like the first couple of weeks, they weren't even showing intervals. They were just showing the miles per hour. Like
they're not showing pit stop times or anything. We just had a record 4-tire pit stop yesterday, and I didn't.
And you would never know.
I saw it on Twitter later on at night.
Yeah,
like that's not acceptable, So, and another thing to keep in mind too is for Fox, and the reason why I'm actually bringing this up is because I'm not the only one who's been thinking about this. I see it on Twitter all the time. A lot of people are talking about the production value of Fox, and they've got to be careful because NASCAR is openly starting to shop around for their next TV partnership.
Oh, yeah.
And when Steve Phelps is on record in front of a camera talking about how he ideally would like to get ESPN back in the game because of the rising popularity in NASCAR, no matter what you think about ESPN, they can help the popularity get even higher.
Yeah.
So when they're openly flirting with other networks and your production value is lacking, you got to be careful if you're Fox. So I'll get off my soapbox with that one.
No, I totally agree, and I've been seeing it on Twitter for weeks now. And after yesterday, it feels like it's worse than ever. Even like other YouTubers, if you're watching us, I'm sure you've heard of Black Flags Matter. Darian, he tweeted earlier today, and I saw him like, yeah, I think he's right. Is Fox Sports hurting NASCAR's appeal? And then
I saw that tweet. Yeah. When I read that, Whitey, I'm like, ooh, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Because to me and to us, I think they are.
And then like just looking at their replies and everything, like the top reply is just all the corny stuff on Fox Race Day before like the skits, the parody party, even the graphics. Like I know superheroes are real popular now, or at least they were for the last few years, but like every driver as a comic book character, the drawings look terrible. Like you're doing a big disservice. I sent you guys, I hate to keep bringing up that race from 1999, but it was an ESPN race, and they started out so strong talking about the storyline of who was doing good and who wasn't, and just the creativity that they put into it. Dr. Jerry Punch did this whole entire analogy where he compared it to like these old fairy tales and stuff. It was an amazing production to build the story of the race. And I feel like we're really not getting much of that.
NBC does a great job.
NBC does do a great job. I feel like NBC takes themselves way more seriously than Fox does, for good reason.
Sure.
And
bring reverence to the race.
And people dog NBC's broadcast group. Like people shit on Jeff Burton. People shit on Steve Letarte. People shit on Rick Allen, individually, which I guess, everyone has their own opinion. But I think as a whole, they just do a phenomenal job. And I can't wait until NBC picks it up again. And you want to know what? Honestly, I hope Fox loses the contract, and I hope they go to ESPN. I want to see ESPN and NBC together, and that's it. We'll see what happens. I know they're working on that stuff now. So,
to me, Fox seems like they're the student that it's Sunday night. Their favorite football team is on TV. They have a huge test on Monday, and they decide to watch the football game instead of studying for that test and doing what they needed to do. Showing up to school on Monday, test is first period, and you literally just look over your sheet. Okay, I'm ready for the test. And then you try to take it. That's Fox. I feel like they just don't. It's like, oh, Sunday's here. We got it. Oh, it's race day. Put this together. Put that together. Like, it just seems very
even look at their third man just constantly revolving and like their third person, because Danica was there. She's obviously not a man, but just the third person, just the revolving door this season. They knew Jeff Gordon was leaving last summer. They didn't have someone in place. You can't get Larry Mack has said, I will gladly go and broadcast the race. Put Larry Mack in. Give us a goddamn America's crew chief to tell us about the fuel strategy.
They talked to him back in the Charlotte studios for most of the race anyway. So why not just have him in the booth with you?
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Let me get into my checkers and wreckers real quick. And then we'll move on, because I don't even want to get fired up over Fox anymore. My checkers for the weekend, like Eric, I originally gave it to Joe Gibbs Racing. So I'm just going to change on the fly. And I'm going to say Kevin Harvick. Just a solid second place performance. He was in the top 10 all day long, had a great car. Stuart Haas is definitely looking much better than they did last year. Chase Briscoe's already won a race. I think Kevin Harvick, we counted him out. A lot of people counted him out last season, but I think we'll see a win from Kevin Harvick.
He's knocking on the door. He's going to win this.
Yeah.
One of my predictions before the season started was Kevin Harvick's going to go winless again. I already feel that I'm going to be wrong there.
Yeah. No, I agree, especially looking at his season last season. It was easy to call that one and go, yeah, he might be done. It might be like Jimmy Johnson where he just fall off the cliff, but he's right there knocking it. And I had fun. I was really hoping he could catch Denny near the end there.
He would have punted Denny
He
would have drove right through Denny Hamlin.
100%.
It would have looked like Kenseth Logano all over again. He would have just even if Harvick wrecked out and didn't win the race, I think he would have just smashed right through Denny.
Yeah.
He kind of said it in his interview. He goes, I wish I got to him so I could take a swipe at him.
Yeah,
he goes,
he did. He goes, I give him something, so I wish we could have seen that. But I was just glad to see Kevin Harvick up front.
Harvick is Mr. Consistency too. I mean, he's 8th in the standings. He's running well, and I'll let you continue. But he's really, really consistent.
No, I agree. And then my wreckers, real simple. Whoever put the tape on Kyle Busch's grill won, because we already know the grill really doesn't do anything this season with the new car. It's all about the ducts on top of the hood. That's what's feeding air into the engine. So The one, there's no point to even put a piece of tape there. Two,
well, Whitey, I will, because I did some little bit of digging into this. The thing that really went wrong, make the grill opening a different color, because everything is just a mesh front, and those brake ducts were there. They were trying to get it over the brake duct, but he went a little too far.
Then I assume the brake ducts were on the side more.
But in the front, the air coming in, it funnels it to it. There's two little circles on each side in the front grille.
Okay.
And that's where the air comes in. And you could either block that off so that either less or more air goes to your brakes. And the reason why it was so detrimental that it was on the grill is because the grill, that is where all of these cars are aerally similar. Instead of, the bodies are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, the way the air comes into the grill and it disperses up through the hood, some of it goes towards the throttle body and then out through the back of the diffusers. That's how they keep all of these manufacturers the same as far as the downforce. It's through the grill, through these diffusers.
Okay.
So by putting tape over the grill, you're technically giving yourself an aero advantage.
All right, that makes sense. I just I assumed the brake ducts were somewhere near the sides, and that piece of tape was right in the center. I'm like, what are you guys even doing? I'll have to check out some pictures and
dude, look at how the car's already driving away. Usually when that guy slaps that sticker on there, the car's already taken off. So he was off by like 2 inches, and it's like, hey, that's all that matters.
We need a Ford Performance cutaway vehicle right now.
For real. Where was Larry Mack on that one? Regardless, I'm looking forward to hearing the NASCAR radioactive, because I want to hear Kyle Busch's radio after that black flag call. But that's my checkers and wreckers for the weekend. All right, you guys want to move on to race notes now?
Hey, Whitey, real quick, though, I do have an honorary wreckers. I was dying laughing when I saw it yesterday.
All right.
The lamppost right in front of the pit box.
What?
I think it might have been Christopher Bell's pit box. One of them
was C. Bell.
had a lamppost directly in front of it.
I don't know.
Like literally like 2 feet like out of their viewing area right in front of their pit box was just a lamppost.
Like
for
the pit road lights?
Like a light.
I didn't even notice. I don't know.
It was like you're at any kind of parking lot. You're at Walmart and there's a huge light pole. Like they're right in the box.
Really?
Yeah, but they showed. So they talked. The broadcast did talk about it. Of course, they talked about it, not like the actual things that they were supposed to be covering.
Yeah.
They talked about it for about 10 seconds, and they showed a view down pit road. And like every maybe 8 or 9 pit boxes, there was a giant lamppost because it's like there was nowhere for them to put the box. Like it had to go right behind it.
Yeah.
So like every 8 or so boxes, they had a big lamppost obstructing their view. I just thought it was hilarious.
They pointed that out because of that new strategy that I talked about with Gibbs, that choreography. The 20 car wasn't able to do that new choreography because of that pole.
Yes.
So where the guys had to come over the wall and onto the wall, they couldn't do the new strategy at the race. So I thought that was a little funny. Oh, we got this new choreography. Sorry, C-Bell, you can't do that.
So you're telling me because of pit selection and a fucking pole that he was slow on pit road all day long and probably could have snuck out a win instead of a 6th place finish. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yes.
I'm telling you that, like wholeheartedly telling you that.
What the fuck? That's unreal.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I wanted to at least bring that up just as like a joke on the side.
So
your teammate has the fastest 4-tire stop in history, and you basically need that to win the race, and you can't do it.
I'll have to go back.
Like this is the big leagues. Like it's the height of the sport.
Yeah.
And we have a lamppost obstructing our shit.
I'm gonna have to go back and check out the race. I DVR'd it. I'm gonna have to go back and see what you guys are talking about because this sounds absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Race notes. We'll just go through the top 10 real quick. Denny, like we talked about, took advantage of some tire strategy to lead the last 5 laps of the race. Harvick had himself a nice top 10 car all day. I talked about that in my checkers. William Byron, he tried to stay out on some old tires, but the fall off caught up to him and he faded to 3rd. Still though, I was surprised he pulled off a third place finish on those old tires. What do you guys think about old Willie B?
Gotta give him credit, dude. You don't understand how hard it is to do what he was doing. And I think that is one thing the broadcast should have, put out there was, okay, you are on that much older tire. You know how hard it is to keep that car on that racetrack that older tire?
Like you're sliding like crazy.
And keep that distance. It's super hard. And especially in traffic. I know Willie B was talking about how in traffic he kept getting so loose out of the corner. He had to wash up track and like the lap traffic kept making his car do different things, act differently. You're on old tires. You want to be on the bottom. He could be on the bottom.
No.
Those guys are on the bottom. So, like,
You watched right up
if
to the
lap
track.
traffic isn't there, I think he might be able to hold them off if that lap traffic isn't there. If he has clean real estate in front of him, we might have seen a different outcome of that race. But hats off to Willie B for having to manage those old tires. That takes a lot of talent.
That's going to be a blessing in disguise for him too. You know, that's a lesson learned. He learned how to battle traffic. Now he knows for the next time. I think that's something where if it's a grizzled vet, maybe they handle that a little bit differently, and maybe they don't get caught if they know how to maneuver around traffic under those set of circumstances. But that's all learning. You know, that's why they always say, you know, you cannot beat experience. Well, that's what they're talking about. You know, maybe Willie B hasn't been in a position like that before. In that exact set of circumstances, but next time he's in that set of circumstances, he's going to be ready. He's going to know what to do.
So this is going to be ridiculous, but I'm going to talk about iRacing real quick because for the longest time, up until last week, I've been burning up my tires. I cannot manage my tires for the life of me. And what happens is I'll burn up that right front tire, and as it gets worn out, you start getting tight. And what happens is you have to let go of the gas. You got to put a little more brake into those turns so you can keep down, and you slow down, or else you go and you get pushed into the wall. Like your car just pulls yourself right into the wall. So William Byron really managing those tires. Once those cars start getting loose and tight and everything due to tire wear, like they are a bear to handle. And I've made a great improvement over the last week. I found the channel, explained the brake bias. Brake bias has a lot to it. So now I'm not burning up those right fronts anymore. And I was actually just racing in New Hampshire, where in the last 10 laps, because I saved my tires and everyone else burned them up, laps to rolls, everyone else burned them up. You see them start fading, and I'm just gaining on them because I'm running the same lap times that I was running 10 laps ago. Now they're running a second or two slower. They're fading. I'm coming on those saved tires. It really does make a difference. It just the consistency of those laps. And for William Byron to still get a third place finish with Martin Truex Jr. behind him with fresh tires, with Christopher Bell behind him with fresh tires, just goes to show you what a true wheelman Willie B really is, you know?
And he started, I mean, it's not irrelevant that you brought up iRacing because he started in iRacing. It's how he was found.
Oh yeah. And like, I don't know, maybe just doing that, learning those little things, tire management and whatnot, you know, it made the difference for old Willie B. I don't know. All I know is he's a great talent, and man, his day is going to come where he starts rattling off wins for sure. Someone that I was surprised to get a top 5 finish, but I shouldn't have been. I was only surprised because how they've been running recently. Martin Truex Jr. on that same strategy as Denny Hamlin. He ran top 10 all day long, including a stage win, led 80 laps earlier on in the race. Just the kind of day we're used to seeing Martin Truex Jr. at a short track. So that was nice to see. What do you guys think about that? Any comments? Or?
Yeah, Gibbs, you know, just I think Gibbs really showed up, and they needed to show up, and they did what they came to do at Richmond. And I think this next couple races here, short tracks coming up, you know, last year where MTJ kind of dominated was those 750 packages, short tracks. So look out these next few weeks for Gibbs in that 19.
Absolutely. I mean, look at where we're going to. They named the track after him. So
yeah, he's the prophet that they named him after, the prophet Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Larson, kind of an afterthought to me. Surprised he got a 5th place. I don't even know how it happened. I guess he had a good long run car or something. Because he only finished stage 2 with points. Like he wasn't there at all in stage 1. Were you guys, I mean, Matt, you're a Hendrick Motorsports fan. Were you really paying attention to Hendrick all day? The only guy I was really paying attention for Hendrick was Alex Bowman, because I also put money on him, and he wasn't doing very well all day long at all. And still, he squeezed out a top 10. He got 8th place. So, like, where were these Hendrick guys at?
I called it before the race. I didn't feel that Hendrick was going to be a strong contender. Yeah, I mean, I was watching them, and my dad, I don't remember if we mentioned this earlier or if we said it before while we were getting ready to set up here. So I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but my dad even pointed it out. You know, he said, look at Kyle Larson back in 10th. You know, that's how good he is that when he was running in 10th,
He's
it
having
was
a bad
considered
day.
a bad race for him, So
Yeah.
anyone, three quarters of the field would be dying to run 10th. So just not his track. It wasn't. It's also not Chase's track either. So just wasn't their
Well,
day.
Matt, at one point in time, the strategy it put our guys in a position where they were racing people that they shouldn't have been racing around. And, I know Chase was on the inside of Eric Jones, and, Harrison Burton, he just drove his car straight in and almost ruined both of our days essentially in that one turn there. And I know you texted and was like, whoa, that was a close call
Almost
for both of our boys.
in the same wreck. Yeah.
So I just think that's racing around these people via these strategy races that you're normally not meant to be racing around. And, I know you guys screenshotted, that tweet,
Ware.
which, if we weren't all blocked by him, maybe I would have responded, but I really don't think he should be blaming anybody but himself.
Yeah, if you missed it, if you don't follow Cody Ware on Twitter, let me pull up the tweet
Why
real
would you
quick.
be following Cody Ware on Twitter?
I'm blocked from my main account and from the Bumper Run podcast account. But Matt screenshot this one. He still survived the Cody Ware blocking. Turned by the 43, had a decent day cut short. No respect given back to me when I try to give it to everyone. On to Martinsville, proud of my team. I tell you what, though, Eric, I think Eric Jones has been hanging out with Ty Dillon a little too much because he was.
I love it. I love it.
There were some bulls in China shops.
You know what? Punt Cody Ware that 51 out of the way. Everybody, so be it. Just get out of the way.
Yeah, he got into him. He got into Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I saw him get into Chase Briscoe. I saw him get into, like you guys said, Harrison Burton. Just a lot of people getting hit by Eric Jones.
No, Harrison Burton drove in way too deep and got in the middle of us. So I'll chalk that one up to Burton. The Stenhouse one, he was in front of all that. I don't even think he really was involved. They said he was, but
yeah.
I mean, obviously Fox, I couldn't find a replay where he was involved. He was in front of them and drove away when Stenhouse and those guys were behind him.
I think he washed up. Stenhouse came down. They made contact. Stenhouse shot out and then took out Cody Ware.
Yeah, I tried finding a good replay of that, and man, I couldn't find a good shot of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what, though, that tweet by Cody Ware it comes full circle of what Eric was talking about before about how this guy is demanding respect and commanding it, and he hasn't done anything to earn it. Like, you have to earn it, and if you haven't earned it, keep your mouth shut and go to work.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some of them earned themselves a good finish though. 6th place, Christopher Bell. We talked about him. Really, I think he made the difference yesterday for the entertainment value of that race. I feel like if he didn't stay out in stage 2, then I don't think the crew chiefs are really thinking much about different strategies and stuff throughout stage 3 and everything. So I mean, I'm giving my second checkers to old Christopher Bell there. Ryan,
one thing only, please.
Yeah, this isn't the morning drive. Ryan Blaney, and it's one ping only, please. Ryan Blaney got himself a 7th place finish. He led early on, 128 laps overall. I thought he was going to run away with the race, like we talked about in our race grades. And yeah, just different strategies got him off sync. Still pulled off a 7th place finish. Man, what was this? His 2nd or 3rd pole of the season already? 2nd, right?
A 2nd in a row, I believe.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rocket Ryan Newman name away. I'm saying it's Rocket Ryan Blaney from here on out,
Like it.
Alex Bowman got himself an 8th place finish, which is way more than he should have. I was watching him all day long. He was struggling in like 15th, 16th place. So I don't know how he pulled off an 8th place. Kyle Busch also got himself a 9th place finish after that black flag incident with the tape. We talked about that. And Austin Dillon, solid run. He was running around the top 15 all day, and he squeaked out himself a 10th place finish. So good for Austin Dillon. He always runs really good at Richmond. And Matt, you even used him as a value pick for your fantasy. And if you guys haven't been paying attention, if you're just listening at home on the YouTube page, Matt's been putting out weekly gambling videos on top of our gambling segment. That one went out Saturday, and Austin Dillon had some good odds. I like that.
So if you guys are lucky, I have a wedding next week, so I'm going to be in a hotel on Saturday. Maybe I'll get a little tuned up and give you a little gambling segment. You get to see a little tuned up Matt.
Some pre-wedding beers and some gambling advice. Yeah. I think it's worth it. Some issues we had. Kurt Busch had some issues. That took him out right in the beginning. Still made some laps at the end though. And Ross Chastain, do you guys know what really happened to Ross Chastain? I feel like he just faded, but I don't. Was there contact or something?
During the broadcast, I wanted to know about a lot of drivers, and I just could not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had the same thing. At one point in time, I'm like, what happened to Suarez?
Yeah.
And then at one point, I'm like, okay, where's Chastain? Okay, they're back here. And I think strategy had a lot to do with that flip-flop, and this guy's a lap down. Well, oh, shit, he went a lap down. Now he's 2 laps down because he still has to work on his car, and I think that comes up. The strategy was just all over the place. So he might have just got caught up in just bad strategy or a tire or something, maybe.
Did Ross get a speeding penalty?
Did he? Maybe. I don't know.
I know, hey, we're doing a broadcast or a podcast. We should know these things. But yeah, I mean, he was up in the top 3 for the majority of the day, and then I look up and he's in the teens and he's nowhere to be found.
I will say I'm pretty sure Daniel Suarez was a victim of Eric Jones in some contact at some point. So
he was. No, he was.
No, he was.
He was.
That's what happened to him.
Yeah.
I think it was during the whole Harrison Burton thing. I think he was like on the inside line of that whole thing. 2 guys I was super impressed with early on. They kind of faded, but they still had good finishes. Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. They looked really strong running in the top 10, and they finished 13th and 15th respectfully. So I thought a pretty good run for RFK. They're still pushing it. They're still trying to get along, regardless of the stiff penalties that came last week. But that's all I have for race notes. You guys have anything else to add this week?
The only other thing that I had was I had another. I didn't know that you picked JGR. I would have went with this, Whitey. For my checkers was I just gave it to green flag stops. Made that rate.
Dude.
You say Christopher Bell. He started it, but the only way that could be finished is if you have green flag stops.
Nice, clean stage racing.
Right. So it going green. I think that really made the race from either a C- or a D into a B minus that we saw. So normally if you had cautions, I don't think we would have saw the same race. I think it would have been a dud because the restarts at Richmond just aren't that exciting. So like normally when you get restarts, it breeds excitement, it breeds entertainment. There, not so much. The excitement was on pit road and strategy. So I'm glad we had those green flag stops. This past week.
I completely agree, man. It's a rarity, it seems, these days. Like you said, we had 5 or 6 green flag stops for the whole entire season up until yesterday, where we either matched it or we exceeded it. So yeah, I totally agree with that one. Let's move on though. Here on the Bumper Run Podcast, every NASCAR podcast talks about the winner. We like to talk about the last place guy, and that was one Greg Biffle. The Biff completed 96 laps of 400. Suspension issues was listed as the reason. Really not seeing a whole lot out of Greg Biffle and New York racing, and it made me wonder as I was typing this out. At the age of 52, which he is right now, he came out of retirement to run the 44 for New York racing team. It's the first time he's been in a Cup car since 2016. And all I could wonder, 6 years later after retiring, why?
I agree.
He got tired of taking the dog for a walk, taking the wife to the grocery store, doing all the shit that, normal people do every day. He's like, would I rather be doing this, going to Home Depot for arts and crafts, or would I rather be driving a race car every weekend? I'm picking the race car.
I guess I just can't see myself coming out of retirement where, I mean, he had a handful of wins. He was somewhat competitive, and then you're completing a quarter of the race. and you're only coming in and you're racing every couple weeks. Like, I
if
don't know.
anything, it's that itch that you can't scratch. And I think when you retire, everybody has that. And when there is an opportunity and it's presented, might have been a very good deal on his end.
That's true.
And he jumped on it. I just think a lot of those drivers, if the deal is right, would jump on an opportunity like that. I wouldn't think Cup. I would have thought maybe SRX.
Yeah.
If like his age is I'm done to go in.
Yeah.
So
And then you can
I would
run
have expected that.
Yeah. I tell you what he needs to do is get himself an iRacing rig and have some fun with me online. You can race some ARCA cars with me in D class fixed and C class fixed. All right, let's move on. I got some topics to discuss. The Choose Cone is out. It's the Pick a Lane segment where I give you guys a topic and you get to choose which side of the argument you're on. And a real simple versus this week. Victory Lane celebration versus front stretch. Are you guys over the front stretch celebrations? Do you want to get back to Victory Lane? You cool with the front stretch? Do you care about Victory Lane? Talk to me, fellas. Matt, what do you got to say?
Although, get these guys back in Victory Lane. I didn't know I cared about this as much as I do. Until yesterday, I saw a couple of the guys on Twitter making a big hullabaloo about it. And they posted a couple old Victory Lane celebrations, and god damn, do I miss them. I didn't know I did until I started watching some of those videos. You've got, when I get it, when they're getting interviewed on the front stretch, they get to be with the fans, and it's cool for the people who are there, and that's so neat and everything like that. And then by the time they get back in the car, they drive over to Victory Lane, they get to see their team. They're getting out of the car for a second time. It's almost like the energy has been sucked out of them. They already got to celebrate. They already got out of their car and they got to celebrate. So it's not as raw and emotional once they get to Victory Lane. Yeah. I miss the old days, and when I say the old days, just a couple of years ago, where they get out in Victory Lane, they're getting champagne and Gatorade and beers thrown on them, the confetti's coming down, they're jumping into their teammates' arms, and that's the first time they're getting out of the car since they took the checkered flag, and you actually get that raw emotion, and they get to share that with the guys that they go to battle with.
Yeah.
Those guys that are busting their asses Monday through Saturday to get these cars ready to rock and roll for Sunday. So, I want them to get back to Victory Lane.
As much as I would like to make this segment, competitive and go against you, it's how could you? I think it'll benefit everybody if they go back to Victory Lane. I think when he crosses there and he does his burnout, you show the burnout. You're going to do the burnout. Let him get out of the car with his helmet on, grab the flag, give it to a fan if he wants to, or he could keep it. High five or whatever, get back in your car. Now, this is where I say it'll benefit everybody. When he's getting back in his car, going to drive to Victory Lane, perfect opportunity to interview P1, P2, P3. While they're waiting for that driver to get back to Victory Lane, talk about the top 5 leading into that. Then, like you said, Matt, when you get into Victory Lane, he's first time getting out of the car, helmet off, adrenaline. Your whole team is there. That's what I like. It's not just him on the racetrack, like he won the race. It kind of selfishly, point the media, it was all him. It was all Denny Hamlin. No, Victory Lane has every single person that is part of that team standing behind them, putting their hats on, waving the confetti, going all out, put the thing on top of the car with the sponsor. It feels more like a victory. Yeah.
I'll never forget when Junior won his first one, when his old man was there to pretty much pull him out of the car and congratulate him. We're getting robbed of those special moments. Right. Think about Ross Chastain last week, just won his first Cup race. The raw emotion of just being able to celebrate right there with maybe his loved ones if they're there, or the whole team. I don't know. It's just it hits different when you get to do that in Victory Lane.
I'll tell you what, and I was a part of a Victory Lane celebration one time at Pocono. It just so happened that Kyle Busch, he won at Pocono. I was, at the time, volunteering security So I was working security and I was right there on pit road. I was holding people back while Kyle drove his car right into victory lane at Pocono. And I was standing there and like, I watched him get out of his car and go nuts and everything go crazy. And all the fans, like, now what you don't maybe not see, there's fans that could get kind of decently close to victory lane at certain racetracks. So if anything, the fans are kind of more involved sometimes in victory lane than just seeing the driver on the racetrack behind that fence. So yeah, bring back victory lane 100%.
Some racetracks you get best of both worlds. Like I know we'll see it this weekend at Martinsville. They have a makeshift victory because there's not enough room in the infield. They make it right there, victory lane right there on the front stretch. They wheel out behind a tractor. They wheel out a stage and everything, and it's right there. So you do get best of both worlds at some tracks.
I would love to go against you guys. I really would, but I'm gonna be honest. I hate burnouts. You know, like they're cool. They're cool when you see them in person. They're real cool. I hate that everybody does a burnout after every single win because it wasn't always like that. You know, like when I think about being a kid and watching racing, like I remember Dale Earnhardt win. Like I hate to bring it back to the past, but I remember Dale Earnhardt winning the Daytona 500, right? And then going in the grass and doing the burnouts. Like that was the first time you really saw someone do that, you know? You'd see like the victory lap and the wave. You'd see Alan Kowicki do the Polish victory lap so he could wave to the fans and they could see him. He would go backwards and stuff. And that's kind of why I like Ryan Blaney. Because when Blaney wins, he doesn't burn it down. He does the victory lap and then he goes, yeah, I don't need to show off. And I appreciate that. I feel like we've seen too many burnouts where it's not special anymore. You know, like I want to see the burnout after the Daytona 500. I don't want to see the burnout after the first Phoenix race in the spring. You know
what? I actually kind of agree with you now that you're actually kind of verbally talking it out with me.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Win it.
I want to
burn out when you win Daytona. Burn out when you win the championship.
Yeah, maybe even burn out when you win like the Coke 600 or. But every single race, you do it every single race. It loses its specialty. So now when I see Ryan Blaney win, I'm like, oh, something different, nice. And then he goes to victory lane and celebrates like they used to. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, get rid of the front stretch,
what, Whitey?
man.
When you first said that, I almost ended this call and just said I wasn't going to do a podcast anymore. I literally almost hit the fucking end button on this call and was like, I am done when I heard you say I'm like, what? Thing. You don't like burnouts, dude? I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I know NASCAR tried putting a little halt on it by saying you're going to tear up your car. Don't burn out to the point where you blow your tires and you rip panels up. I get that. You know, they tried to discourage burnouts just in general. We're saying, hey, don't do it. They were like saying, don't burn out, like don't do it. And then I forget who it was that like just said fuck it, pretty much. Like I'm gonna burn out. I'm gonna do it. And then everyone just kind of started doing it again. But you got to think. I agree with you, Whitey. I do. I would like to see it be a more meaningful thing. But at the same time, at the racetrack, those fans want to see that burnout.
And I get it. I get it.
Yeah, like you're there. It's part of just the whole.
You smell the burning rubber. And everything.
So like, cool. I agree with you, but at the same time, I would never want them to say, "Hey, you can't do a burnout unless it's this, and this." But that was a very, very good point you brought up because I almost you would have. This might have been the last Daytona Ron you might have seen on the show.
and that's why I phrased it like that because burnouts are fucking awesome, you know. And like, I love burnouts. I wish I could do burnouts in my car. I can't, you know? But at the same time, like, it just kind of loses its specialness where like, but at the same time, you have to think it from the perspective of the driver. Like they just won. They want to celebrate, like let them burn it down. I don't know.
I think it could be a personality thing. You know what I mean? Like who does it for them, who likes to do that versus like you said, Blaney's more of a, you know, he keeps everything, you know, inside a little bit more. He's a little bit more reserved. So maybe that's his personality. That's who he is. He is that, you know, has that class from his father and those guys in the past that he learned from that, you know?
I just wonder if you get rid of the front stretch interview, if you see less of that. Probably not, but you never know. But yeah, I agree. I kind of miss victory lane celebrations because, like, even now, like, we don't even see victory lane half the time. They do 2 interviews and then they're out, So I don't know. It's just one of those weird things. Let's see. This was brought up during the race. The Fox guys were kind of joking about it. What's the harder job during a strategy race, the driver or the crew chief? What do you guys think?
I'm always going to go drivers on this one. Whitey, you just talked about how hard it was on iRacing. Could you imagine in a real world scenario where you have to manage tires, you have to manage fuel, all while laying down competitive laps?
Yep.
The crew chief's job, sure, it's hard. I'm not going to take anything away from them. I'm not going to sit here and say I can do it because I know I couldn't or I would be doing it, But they don't have to do the physical job. The crew chiefs, they have engineers, they have car chiefs to help them figure out the math while they're sitting on top of that box.
They have war rooms back in Charlotte.
The driver doesn't have a co-pilot that could just help take over the car so he can, think about what he wants to do.
He doesn't even know how many miles per hour he's going. He's looking at an RPM tach.
Yeah, he has to do it all. But he has to do all of it. He has to wheel that machine, So I'm always going to go driver on that call there.
How about you, Eric? What's the hard job, driver or crew chief during a strategy race?
I'm going to go with the old, who's better, Brady or Belichick? It's kind of the same situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we see Brady leave Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots after their dynasty. He goes on to win another Super Bowl, pretty much make it there, should have made it there again. And, look at what Belichick's doing, not doing the greatest. So without Brady, I think Brady is now showing up at this point. It's more the player rather than the coach. So in NASCAR, the player is the driver, the coach is the crew chief. So I'm going to go with the player as well. He's got to be the one behind the wheel, managing those tires and getting around lap traffic and holding off those guys on fresh tires.
I'm a little torn. I'm going to say it's a 60-40 split. I'm going to say it's 40% on the crew chief, 60% on the driver.
I almost went with the crew chief just for the pure fact of if something goes wrong with the strategy, now on the fly, you have to come up with a new strategy and do what you can to salvage a day. Maybe you might not win that race, but what could you do as a crew chief and a driver, combination like you're kind of getting at, Whitey, I guess? They kind of are a combo, but it's got to be tough on the fly to make that call because Sure
it does. But you've got 3 or 4 minds all coming together, just like a head coach. Eric, you just used football as an example. Just like a head coach has defensive and offensive coordinators, and then they splinter off to all the positional coaches, and they all come together and let the coach know, hey, this is what we think. All the head coach does, all the crew chief does is have final say in it. But when you have a car chief, when you have 2 or 3 engineers on top of that box with you, helping you, trying to figure out that math, you've got a ton of help to figure it out. It's not just on you to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean.
Now imagine you're the crew chief for Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a totally different scenario there. It's like, you hear him the way he is, you're the crew chief, you make that call. If that race doesn't go right, you're getting blamed 100%, not the driver, no matter how hard or how shitty the driver was. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a fine line. I think it depends on who it is and who's, because like that final decision to me, that is everything.
Yeah.
You have that call. Understandable. The driver has to, he has to go out there and produce and make that call a reality and win essentially. But man, it's got to be tough if you're a crew chief making that call and your driver doesn't want to. What if your driver's like, I don't think that's the right call.
Yeah.
Maybe Whitey's onto something when he says it's that 60-40 split, though, because yes, we've been comparing it to stick and ball sports, specifically football, but NASCAR is its own entity. Look what happened to the two best that have ever done it as far as a crew chief driver combination in Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. They split up and they never did anything again as far as a race performance deal. You
Well,
know, Chad,
I mean, that's not true. Chad Knaus still made it to the playoffs every year of his career with William Byron. So
did he win with Willie B though? No, right? Neither of them won again without each other.
No,
right?
he won Daytona with William Byron.
Yeah, he won with Willie B.
He won the fall race.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, and they made it in on points the year before that too. So
okay, fair enough.
I just think it's a trust thing. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. You have to trust your crew chief to give you that strategy. You have to trust your driver to, go through and make that strategy, a reality on the racetrack. And some drivers could do that and has that trust. And those are the drivers and combos that end up doing well and win races. You saw it with Harvick and Childers. Like once you find that match, that's why you see a lot of them switching. Oh, why is that crew chief going to this guy and put him with this guy? And now he's over here, like
just trying something.
Find that perfect match. So I think you're right, Whitey. It's a little give and take on both sides. But I would much rather be the driver in that situation than the crew chief.
Oh yeah. Especially if the plan goes wrong, then the crew chief
because crew chief's getting blamed.
Yeah,
the crew chief, it's all your fault. You called the strategy.
Steve Letarte brings it up all the time. He goes, sometimes you make the right call, sometimes you don't. It's one of those deals.
You gotta live with it.
If you want to go back, I bring this race up all the time. It is my favorite race of all time. It is one of the greatest strategy races I've ever watched live. 2019 Xfinity race in Las Vegas. Christopher Bell had the car to beat all day long. Dominant car. Reddick sitting around 10th. Shitty car all day long. They were going for the regular season championship. Randall brought him in off sequence pitting and they did fuel strategy. And the fuel strategy worked and listening to the crew chief, listening to Randall call that race. In Xfinity series, they don't have the telemetry and all that stuff. They're paper and pencil. They're doing math formulas and everything. They were shy of gas. So Reddick had to save. And so they'd be saving for a couple laps. And then he'd be like, hey, all right, buddy, I need you to push it. Give me 2 hard laps. Let me see where you're at. He's following the data. Reddick has to, execute what Randall's telling him to execute so Randall can get the information he needs to make the judgment call. It's one of the greatest fuel strategy races I've seen. Steve Letarte hyped up the whole entire race perfectly. That's why I wish NBC broadcasted this last race in Richmond. If you're bored one night, it's on YouTube. Just watch the last half. It's amazing because you'll see Christopher Bell in turn 1 and Reddick in turn 4, and Bell's just catching him every lap as it goes. And like you said, just those times and everything. But Randall Burnett, the crew chief, paying attention.
What this week did, as far as for me and for you guys as fans listening to us, if you are new, if you're just trying to get into the sport, I know we're always trying to get new fans. This is a perfect time to get into this style of racing. You want to talk about short track, road course, super speedway. Mm-hmm. This is a completely different style of racing. So next time a race is, you might be thinking it's a dud, and then you see someone pit early, a light bulb's going to go off in your head as a fan, and you're going to understand what's going to go on, and you'll have to pay attention a little bit more. But just as a fan, if you were on the fence about this race, like Whitey said, go back and watch a couple other fuel strategy races, and you'll maybe get a little bit more of appreciation next time one of these Richmond races comes around.
And just pay attention to the commenting team as they break it all down for you, as they give you the information. That's how you really absorb what's going on and seeing the different strategies and stuff. And I think that's where Fox really dropped the ball yesterday, because I feel like they could have done so much better of telling that tire management story.
Another good one to watch too is Pocono in 2014 when Junior won, when Keselowski ran out of gas and Junior passed him actually right in front of us on coming out of turn 1 there. You go back and watch that race. They really explain the fuel strategy. I know I'm biased because Junior won and it was at Pocono, but
Steve Letarte was the crew chief. He was he made the right call that day, and Letarte during that Vegas Xfinity race was mentioning that. Where he was like, I've made the wrong call. I've made the right call. When you make the right call, you look like a genius. When you make the wrong call, everyone hates you on Monday, So, But yeah, definitely worth checking out some other fuel strategy races, just even to listen to the broadcasts and see how they're brought down. Even go back to this year's Pocono race. Kyle Busch was doing some fuel strategy stuff. He was missing all the gears except for fourth gear. That was another great race that NBC called. Man, I can't wait till NBC takes over.
I know.
But we're still on Fox and we're looking forward to next weekend. We're going short track racing again Saturday night in Martinsville. We got night racing all week though. Thursday night truck racing 8 p.m. on FS1 for the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 200. Friday night Xfinity cars on track 7:30 on FS1 for the Call 811 Before You Dig 250 powered by call811.com. Now that is a mouthful of a race name. And then of course Cup practice and qualifying is going to be at Friday night 4:30 on FS1, and then Saturday night Cup under the lights 7:30 on FS1 for the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400, so double the distance of trucks on Thursday night. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see some real short track racing, some beating and some banging, some bump and runs. But first, Matt's got to give you the stats we need to make some picks.
Yes, I do. So I just checked about a half hour ago. They only had the odds up. They didn't have the head-to-head. I am checking really quick right now. Of course, we pull our odds and our lines from DraftKings. That's who provides all this for us. So let me just real quick check here.
All right, and to go over the picks from last week. So usually we do head-to-head battles in the prop bet section. Last week
we will not be doing head-to-head this week.
We won't be doing it? Okay. Last week it was Bowman and Kyle Busch. I picked Alex Bowman. Eric picked Alex Bowman. Matt picked Kyle Busch. Matt was the only one that didn't get it right. The next one was Logano and Hamlin. I picked Logano. Both of you guys picked Denny Hamlin. Of course, he was the race winner. The next one was Martin Truex Jr. versus Kyle Larson. I picked Kyle Larson. Both of you guys picked Martin Truex Jr. Of course, he beat out Larson by 1 spot or 2 spots. Ross Chastain versus Tyler Reddick. Me and Eric picked Tyler Reddick. Matt picked Ross Chastain. Tyler Reddick had the better day. Daytona Ron, Eric picked 4 for 4 in the picks.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of 3 for 4 days. So if you guys are betting, definitely always go with Daytona Ron's picks over my picks at least. Matt's usually pretty good too. And then this past weekend, we were all high on Joe Gibbs Racing. I picked Christopher Bell to win. He got me 44 points. Eric picked Martin Truex Jr. to win. He got you 50 points. And Matt called it. The race winner, the hometown guy, he picked Denny Hamlin. Unfortunately, he only got you 40 points because he didn't get any stage points throughout the race. But man, Joe Gibbs Racing came alive like we called it. Matt, do you have the stats for going into Martinsville?
Yep. So like I've been doing all year, we're going to go ahead and rattle off the top 10 in odds-on favorites to win. Like I said, these lines are brought to you by DraftKings. Now it is Monday. These odds will change after obviously qualifying and practice go. So to start it, Christopher Bell and Alex Bowman are both favored at plus 1,400. Then you move down the line here. You've got our 2 most recent race winners, Denny Hamlin. William Byron won a few weeks ago, but Denny Hamlin, William Byron, both at plus 1,200. You've got Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. Oh, and Kyle Larson. All 3 of them are plus 1,000 to win this race on Saturday night. And then you top out your top 3 favorites. Somebody who's won the last 2 polls, somebody who just needs to put the race together to win. I called it that he's going to win the championship this year. He's just going to start winning. Ryan Blaney plus 900 is the 3rd best favorite right now. And then his counterpart, his buddy Chase Elliott over at Hendrick Motorsports at plus 700. And then your favorite, they named the track after him. I made that stupid joke twice now tonight. Martin Truex Jr. comes in at the favorite here on Monday night at a plus 550.
All right. Even though you did pick the race winner, I feel like this is unfair completely. He did get you the least amount of points, so you do get to pick first, Matt. So who are you going with down in Martinsville?
I'm going to pick the race winner again. It is his Ville. Let's make it 3 straight times on this podcast that I make the joke. It's Martinsville. He's going to win it again. Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, if you didn't pick him, I was. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out a backup plan yet. So
I haven't picked him once this year, and I feel like this is the perfect time. He almost did it yesterday at Richmond, and I feel like MTJ is going to come to life.
Yeah, I picked him to win at Phoenix, and he had a real rough day out in the desert, and I was going to actually burn my second Martin Truex Jr. Pick. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we're only picking guys. We're putting a 5-pick limit on guys. So sometimes we do pick some oddballs just as a management thing. I think I'm going to go with the Fords have been running pretty well. We haven't seen much out of them, but I'm going with Joey Logano.
Oh, okay.
Good pick. Good pick. He usually does well at Martinsville. When he said the Ford thing, I got a little nervous at first, but I highly doubt anyone was going to go this route. And I'm going out on a limb here with this one. It isn't Harvick, it's his teammate.
Eric Almirola.
I'm going with the 10 of Eric Almirola.
Are you serious?
Ace, dude. He is something about when he goes to short tracks, he runs well.
Okay.
He ran well this season so far. Now with his teammate catching on, I think that organization is going to get better as a whole. And wait till you see that 10 stay out of trouble during the day and be there at the end.
Eric, did you lose a bet? Who made you pick Eric Almirola?
Hey, listen, but it's all we can only use these drivers. So
I'm
trying to dictate that a little bit here.
I'm only busting. You are right. He's really good at those short tracks. He hasn't really rattled off a lot of them, but he's been there. So, and he's had some great performances this year as well. He just hasn't been able to put the whole race together. So, the first 3 or 4 races this year we were talking about, he was the only one finishing inside the top 10.
Yeah, he had a 5th place finish in Daytona, 6th in California, 6th in Las Vegas, and then he fell off. He had a 12th place finish in Phoenix, which is considered a short track, so he did well there. 22nd in Atlanta, that was kind of a crapshoot. 19th in COTA, and then 21st in Richmond. But again, there's all sorts of varying strategies. But if you look back to Martinsville in the fall, the last 2 years, he has a 6th place last year and a 7th place in 2020. And like Eric said, he is usually pretty good in the top 5 or top 10 at most short tracks. So I think that's a pretty solid pick.
I do too.
And maybe throw a buck on him as a long shot. I don't think that's too terrible.
Oh, real quick. I was looking. If you throw $10 down on Cody Ware to win this race and he wins the race, you will win $10,000. Just
how much do you have to bet? $10?
$10 will win you $10,000, or maybe I might be wrong. It might be 1 to win $10,000.
Why even risk it? Just put $1 down and win $1,000.
Cody Ware is plus 100,000.
Can I tell you something? This is.
I'm sorry. So $1.
Is that for a champion? Are you looking for a championship?
10,000.
Are you sure you're not looking at the championship stats to win a championship?
No, dude. I am looking at the race. It's for the blue Emu maximum pain relief 400.
You want to what? Fuck it. I'm gonna drop a dime on him. I'll bet 10 cents on Cody Ware, because guess what? I was gonna bring it up. I didn't realize on FanDuel you don't have to bet a full $1. I always thought you had to bet a full $1.
Wow.
So now I've been
Whitey's betting nickels and dimes over here now.
10 cents will win him $100 though.
You can't bet a nickel, but you can bet 9 cents on FanDuel. I've been betting crazy parlays on basketball and just putting 10 cents to win like $2, $4, $10 and stuff. So
but see, how mad would you be if you hit on one of those, and if you actually bet like $5, you would have won a shit ton more,
But I hate losing more money more than that.
True. You do it for the rush.
Well, here's the thing.
If you hate losing money, stop gambling.
I was still betting on these parlays at like, $1, $2, $5, and then losing. So I might as well just bet a dime and try to win. Instead of winning $30, I'll try to win $3. But yeah, let's keep moving. Unfortunately, like Matt said, DraftKings didn't update quick enough to get us those driver props. But like I said earlier on, Matt's been doing betting segments Saturdays on our YouTube page. So if you're listening on the podcast and you're not following us on YouTube, subscribe, head on over there. I also share the videos on our Facebook page and our Twitter at Bump the Letter N Run Pod. So make sure you're following us on all social medias
to get that out. Like I said, I am going to be away at a wedding.
And Matt, even if you can't record it, send me your picks for the weekend and I'll record it and I'll put it out there.
We'll get it out to you guys.
We'll figure out something. Like I said, though, we are moving on to Martinsville this week. 7 races in. We have 7 different winners. Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Ross Chastain, and Denny Hamlin. One of these guys is not like the others. Old man Hamlin with the win this weekend in Richmond. Who will win in Martinsville? Will it be another veteran? Will it be Eric Almirola in his final season? Will it be Joey Logano, who has been around forever, but he's only like 31? Or will it be Martin Truex Jr.? They named the place after him after all. Saturday night, Cup racing under the lights, 7:30 on FS1. It's the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400. And the greatest thing about Blue Emu is it works and it doesn't stink. For Matt, the Statman Reilly, for Eric at Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The bump and run.
There it is.